What's up, Breakthrough Success listeners? Mark Bird, the podcasting coach here, helping people launch, grow, and monetize their podcasts. And we have a really great guest on this show. She owns a multi-million-dollar business, but she has quite the backstory. She was born in a secluded culture of a horse-drawn buggy religious organization. When she was 34 years old, a strong force within her took her beyond that world. As she knew it, she ended up getting out of that culture, being able to fully embrace the life that she has now. There's been quite a few twists and turns along that journey, so plenty of things to talk about. Her whole, that journey, also having that multi-million-dollar business. So our guest who joins us today for this episode of Breakthrough Success is none other than Marian McSpadden. Marian, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Mark. I'm excited to be with you and with your guests and your listeners.
I'm so happy to have you on Breakthrough Success. I feel like we're going to produce a lot of great content together. I'm wondering if you could start by sharing your story and the perseverance throughout that journey, because it's certainly one that you don't hear very often.
Thank you, Mark. Well, for the first 33 years of my life, I lived at home with my parents and never had a boyfriend, never had a date in that horse and buggy culture. We didn't have cars, televisions, or technology. Our clothes were homemade and plain, hair pinned up to the head and covered, and nothing extra like makeup or jewelry. Everything that was not approved by the church rules was forbidden. So it's like always, well, I can't do this or I can't do that. Children are taught to work at an early age, and any money earned is given to the parents until they're 21 years old.
Yeah, that's, definitely a different culture from what a lot of people are used to. And then you did break out of that culture. What inspired you to do that?
Well, I was a hard worker, and from the age of 21 to 34, I taught school, made quilts, and as a midwife, delivered babies within the community and managed my own little health food store. So I was always kind of an entrepreneur. My mom was an entrepreneur, and we lived on a 400-acre dairy farm. So there was lots of being independent, not codependent, but independent. Although I was successful in small business, my life was not working. Depression and oppression were taking over. And in those darker moments of my life, help started coming my way. Friends from outside of the community saw the pain and recommended an intensive self-development seminar. Two major things happened at that seminar, and that seminar was not necessarily approved by my community or the religion, but it was something like I kind of made in a desperate attempt for survival and just in my own well-being. So two things happened. First one, a memory I had blocked out of my mind to survive surfaced. In a conversation, I shared the memory of what happened to me when I was 5 years old. And the woman I shared it with said, "Oh, I was raped when I was 5 years old too." I had never associated rape with what happened, and with that revelation, I collapsed to the floor. While in a coma, I knew some things were just downloaded in me, and I knew that I had to raise an awareness in the community to protect other children by confronting the perpetrator and for my own healing. Secondly, it was also downloaded into me that I instantly knew I was leaving the community. I didn't know how, when, or where, but it was just like I know was downloaded. I wanted to run and not go home after leaving that safe place of an event. But an internal guiding system that was new for me helped me know that I needed to go home and kind of face the music and prepare for the exit. But I was terrified, absolutely terrified. I was thrown into the fight and flight mode all at the same time. And it took 5 months to prepare for my escape.
And just to do something like that is really impressive. And then the change happened. I have this successful business. I'm wondering, can you talk a little bit about how you were able to make that multi-million-dollar business and just some of the thoughts going through your mind as you transitioned from, where you were then to now having this business?
Yes, I can. Would you like to hear how I actually left then? I've got just a little bit more on that part.
I'd say only a little bit on that part, but more on the business side.
Okay. Just a little bit. I kept all my exit plans a secret from the community. And from this point, I did three strategic things. The first thing I did was I paid cash for a brand new modular home and set it up for a birthing center for the pregnant women. And I also moved there. So I kind of I lived there for 1 month, brand new, and then I jumped out and never came back. The second thing I did was I secretly paid cash for a car and got my driver's license. And the third thing I did was I set a departure date. And I think those three steps are amazing because they work for anything that you want to make a change in life in, is if you can strategize what are key things that you need to make that move and set a date to it. And nobody told me that. It's just kind of like it was all downloaded to me, and I knew I had to do that. I knew I needed to break free. And in the middle of that, all of that, I had to do a lot of hard work emotionally and overcome the fears that wanted to stop me. And they were big. The day came, and that night I went to my perpetrator's house and I had prepared a letter of what I remembered that happened and when I was 5 years old. And I asked him to stand as I read the letter, and his response shocked me. And he said, "Yes, I did that, but I did not hurt you." And those words really, really cut. But when I left the house, I made 5 other stops to immediate family and handed them a letter. And I felt compelled to raise an awareness so other children would not be a victim. And I drove from Missouri to Colorado to start over. And I was very careful not to reveal my identity to anyone who would possibly know me. And my fear was my relatives would find me and convince me that I was bad and I needed to go back. But it was 9 months till we reunited again and developed sort of a distant relationship after that.
And how did that lead to the multi-million-dollar business that you have now?
Well, being on the other side, obviously, I had to start over and find a new way. And I got connected with a company called Conklin, and it is a manufacturing company. And I built a little bit of business, but in the midst of my transition, I kind of dropped it, really dropped it. And but I knew people from there, and I actually married a successful man in the business. So I cheated just a little bit. I kind of took a big step forward, but I knew the business already, and so we became a team in it. And he started in the 1980s. So he's been with the company 35 years. And when I joined, I think we've tripled the business. Of course, it's more time for him too, but with both of us working in the last 18 years, we were able to triple the number of our business.
That's really awesome results right there. I mean, if anyone who could triple their business in that much time, they'd be pretty happy with it. One of the things I do want to ask is I feel like we are all like habits are part of all of our lives. So I'm wondering if you could share with us some of the habits that really helped you be able to get those results with the business.
Well, hard work, I knew hard work, and somehow I didn't give up real easy, even when things were a little difficult sometimes, and learning to, I suppose for me, the hardest thing to overcome was to learn what my role was in the business, because everything was new. I was literally starting over in a lot of ways and operating on, our company makes commercial roofing. So my husband did some jobs and I climbed the ladder and worked with him. And so there's a lot of things that were new for me. So just being consistent and not giving up when you don't really know what's happening or know what you're doing, but you learn in the process.
Yeah, I mean, when you do go towards like a big goal, whether it's like climbing the corporate ladder or being an entrepreneur, there are definitely going to be some struggles along the way. And I'm wondering if during those struggles, like what were you thinking during some of those struggles? Like, did you ever like doubt your decision? Did you feel like you shouldn't have left, or did you feel like, you shouldn't be in this business? Like, what were some of the thoughts during the struggles, and how did you overcome them?
Because I had that really deep knowing that I was to leave, I never doubted it. But the separation from people that were important to me was very difficult. So loneliness was the biggest one that I had to overcome from that point. And finding new friends in the new world was a little difficult as well, because it's like I was from another planet. You know things at your age that I had no clue of, because I was in a very secluded culture. I didn't know football teams. I didn't know, things, songs, or people that other people just grew up with, and they just automatically knew it. So it was a big learning curve for me. And I think what helped me the most to overcome any obstacle was whenever I kind of felt like I was hitting a brick wall and I don't know how to go anymore, like, hey, I've given everything I've got and this is still not working. Somebody came into my life, either an organization or an individual that just had a key bit of information or something that helped me break through in my own, because it really was my own battle. The battle was within me and overcoming.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the battles are within, and we choose how we respond to the different things that happen to us and what we do based on the circumstances we're given. One of the things I do want to ask you about is you did mention you used the term learning curve to describe how you went from like where you were to where you are now. And I feel like we're all on different learning curves for different things we're trying to master. So I'm wondering if you could share with us some advice for people who they feel like they're on a learning curve for something if they want to speed up a little bit.
Find people who know what you want to learn. Read books or listen to podcasts. Listen to Mark's podcast. He has some wonderful, I bought his book right away on podcasting. And actually I got one of your signed books at the New Media Summit. So that was really cool. And I read it. It was the first book that I read, and I just absolutely loved your information, because it's something I know a little about, but I don't know a lot about. So I think that was the thing that gave me the most success, is getting around people who are doing what you want to be doing. And that means you have to stay away from some people that are not doing what you don't want to be doing. It's not just a free ride. It's one that you will have some, if I can use the word sacrifice, where you'll have to give something up in order to gain what you want. But the rewards are great. So I've never felt like it was a sacrifice, other than my relationships that got sacrificed in the change. Other than that, I never felt like I really sacrificed anything.
I mean, that's a really great tidbit, though. I mean, like, if you want to learn something quickly, surround yourself with people who already know what they're doing. I mean, the things that I know really well, like podcasting, like we met at New Media Summit, a lot of podcasters go to New Media Summit for running. I surrounded myself with a whole bunch of runners for like 7 years, just because like I was on different teams at that time. I was even thinking about doing like running clubs. So I continue to, continue to like surround myself with those kinds of people. So for the things that you do want to learn and master, it is good to surround yourself with different people. And I appreciate you shouting out my podcast and my books. So learning that way is also really good. It could be anyone's podcast, anyone's books. I wouldn't mind if they were mine, but it really could be anyone's content. For people who want to continue following you on your journey and learn more about your work, where are some good places we can go?
Well, I have a website at let me start over. everythingyouTry.com. www.everythingyouTry.com. That is my website for my coaching, because I do breakthrough coaching now, which is something that is a little newer in my life. I went through the season where I fully supported my husband in the business and we worked together. And here in the last couple years, I just felt like the journey that I took worked. I know it worked because I've walked it. And I've learned so much being in business, and always gravitated towards self-development and learning. I had an 8th grade education in my growing up years. And so when I was like on the other side of the community, I took a GED, and then took some courses where I ended up having a bachelor's degree. And so I've always gravitated towards education. I can never learn enough. It's like I always want to know more. And I just felt like it was now time to give to other people, so that I have developed a program for helping people make a journey. You know, everyone feels prisoner to something. And if we can identify what it is in a relationship or a circumstance or an emotion, I can help people get through that one thing that limits them and holds them back. Might be a mindset, whatever it is. So when you go there, that's what you'll see. And there's a free chapter on there where they can see some of my writing. And if they're interested in the business that my husband and I have, they can connect with me that way as well. There's a little link there to connect to.
Well, we'll definitely throw that link into the show notes. We'll also throw an ocean writing in the show notes, which is a mastermind I'm organizing with 2 fellow authors and January in Florida about how you could become a 6-figure author. So we'll throw that in there for any listeners who are interested. But once again, Marian, thank you so much for taking the time to be on Breakthrough Success. It was such a pleasure having you on the show.
Thank you, Mark. Mine as well.